I'm going to start off this video with a very controversial statement. Pudding is the better version of Boa. Both extremely strong, powerful women turned simp, and the simpiness is used for comedic relief as well as for effect on their backstory and the turmoil and trauma that they have experienced. They're not the same character, but they have very similar patterns to them. And me saying that Pudding is better than Boa is not insulting Boa. I very much like her character. The comparison is to emphasize how incredibly I think Pudding's character was handled and how deeply I love her. I actually don't know if that's controversial at all. I don't know what the wider One Piece fandom feels about Pudding, but indulge me. The thing with Pudding, and I could genuinely do an entire character study on this one character because I think that she is so flawlessly executed. But the thing with Pudding, and I'm going to talk about her a lot in this video, is not only do we have this sweet, adorable, wonderful girl that I myself fell deeply in love with, who had this twist of backstabbing betrayal that really genuinely hurt me so badly, but then whenever we have that kind of split, I'm still evil, oh no wait, that's wrong, sorry, to me, this is probably the greatest and most impactful display of truly the damage that Big Mom does to those in her inner circle. We see her taking the life from people, a lot of people voluntarily giving their life in order to be protected by Big Mom's domain, by her name, by her, you know. But Pudding is a great example of seeing the terrible damage that Mom does to anyone in her inner circle. We see Pudding being used and manipulated, treated as a favored daughter because of the service that she can provide for Mom, and for that reason only. But at the same time, as she's being favored and loved because she's useful, she's also being mentally and emotionally beat down in being told, "You're wonderful, you're useful, I love you, hide that third eye. That thing's nasty, you look horrifying, cover that mess up." Which would be damaging to anyone, especially from the person who you're seeking approval from and who you're trying to serve and trying to please. That person telling you, yay, you've pleased me because of the value you have to me, but you're still pretty worthless and no one would ever want to be around you if they knew the true you. That's so damaging, that's so abusive, that's such an abusive relationship. Not only that, but then we really see it on full display when Pudding breaks mentally, when Sanji compliments her third eye. The first time that she's treated as worthy just in being herself. Great parallel to her brother, by the way. Oda, you magnificent themestress. Kamasui. I don't... Let me ask, hang on. What is Scarf brother's name? And how do I pronounce it? I stay away from Google because Google scares me. Spoilers. Oh wow, they're so fast. Katakuri. Katakuri. Thank you, patrons. What a great parallel to Katakuri, which we will cover later, but oh my goodness, we really see the extent of damage that Mom has done to her in I can't think of the right word, prepping her, in teaching her to be evil and to serve Mom's dastardly ways. But at the same time, that a single genuine compliment in her true form, what she's always been told is revolting and no one could love, just one single genuine compliment undoes her to the point that she can't figure out who she is, that she can't sort through how she's supposed to present herself anymore. She's been so ingrained that this evil form is the only form acceptable. And so it's her natural instinct. It's her go-to, but it's not who she wants to be anymore. But she's also really conflicted about how she feels about Sanji because her feelings that she's developed for him are so genuine. But it's just I could do a whole video dissecting this character and the brilliance of her and the usefulness of truly putting on display how much damage Big Mom does to those in her inner circle. She's not just selfish in the way she runs her island and in the way she handles everything, but she's also such an abusive mother in the way she manipulates her children for their usefulness. We're gonna get more into Big Mom because there's a lot of nuances to her, and I also have a lot of compassion to her for other reasons, but just know that I love Pudding so much. And not only that, but we're also going to talk more about her later whenever we have more opportunities as we discuss little parts of the story, because Pudding is amazing and I love her and I just want to sweep her up in my arms and take her away from her abusive family. Again, themes. But anyway, we'll talk about it more. I just need the world to know how much I love her and how much I want to pick her up. I want to take her away. I want to give her her found family to run off to and just keep her safe and let her heal a little bit because she just desperately needs to heal. Okay, let's talk about the actual arc. Several people have commented asking why I broke this arc into 3 parts when it so very clearly would have a much cleaner breaking point if I did 2. And the simple reason is just it's a time thing. I just, my family's still really adjusting a lot and I only have so much time to read. So in order to get you guys weekly videos, I had to break it up into 3 parts. So there may be some things that take a little bit longer than probably you want, but it's what I've got. So in the last video, we ended in big, dramatic, intense moments. And I love that in this moment, we pick right up with Jinbei being what he was in Impel Down and being what he was in Marineford. Jinbei, the most solid rock in all of One Piece. Don't fight me on it. Jinbei deserves every good thing in the world. Jinbei telling them, after this terrible, terrible, wonderful sacrifice that Pedro made for us, telling them we cannot let his sacrifice be in vain. We have to move forward. Just like in Impel Down, he told Luffy, you cannot lose focus now. Move forward to your brother. And then whenever we lost in Marineford, saying, you cannot end it here. I'll pick you up and I'll make you move forward. And I love him so much. Mom starts walking on water because of Candy Cane, tongue-licky guy, and she is continuing to be in her wedding cake terror. And Pudding continues to be the most chaotically adorable character in the world, hanging out of the carpet. She's just, I love her. I love her. Mix that with also too, with her dynamics with Sanji, how she is so in love with him and between his simping and her either passing out or even bursting into flames every time the man speaks, they're a cute couple. Jinbei is still 100% the best boy in all of One Piece. And oh, that's quite the statement, isn't it? Should I think about it a little bit before I say something like that? He at least makes the top 5. Jinbei is wonderful. He saves them by manipulating the tides because he's such a wonderful fishman and I love him. And then on the other side of things, I'm setting the stage here about everything that's going on right now. And then on the other side of things, we also have Luffy still in the mirror world, still fighting off Katakuri. And oh my golly, this was such a great fight. So like I've said before, I don't read One Piece for the fights, right? Oda's great at writing fights. It's not what I read One Piece for. I read it for the world. I read it for the characters. I read it for the gags. I read it for the intricacies of the plot and the foreshadowing and the deep themes and the incredible execution of those themes. And there's so much that I love about One Piece, and fights, while I think they're good, they probably fall at the bottom of the list, if I'm honest. And it's not because I don't like them, it's just because there's so much that this series does magnificently that the fights, they're good. They're good. But this is the first fight that I've had in a really long time, that has gone on this long, that I have been on the edge of my seat the entire time. But between Luffy's desperation and contacting Nami, and then them shooting the arrows through the mirrors to take down his crew, between Luffy not being able to hold his own against him and constantly getting beat down and beat down, but he keeps standing back up because that's who Luffy is. He will always stand back up. To his last breath, he will stand back up because he will do anything for his crew. But then also realizing that what Katakuri is doing is some advanced observation haki. I'm pretty sure is what it was. Correct me if I'm wrong. Some advanced observation haki, and that's something that Luffy can access. And so he's also fighting to continue to grow stronger, because he has to grow stronger to become the Pirate King, but he also has to grow stronger if he's always going to be there to fight for his crew. And oh, I love him. Seeing them fight together too, with their powers being so very similar. And I get Katakuri's thing now with the Logia and the special paramecia, or however you say that, with how he can kind of, because he's future telly, he can see a fight, he can see something coming, and because of what his power is, Mochi Mochi, I looked it up, it looks delicious. Mochi Mochi, he can kind of almost liquefy himself just because of the properties of what he's doing, and meld around the punch. It's a little bit wibbly wobbly, but I get it. And just being able to see Luffy fight someone who is so similar to him, yet more powerful, just stronger. And then all the emotional stuff that comes with it too. Man, what a fight. What an incredible fight. So his introduction, or I don't know if it wasn't his introduction, but Branch being so his hype man, his biggest hype man, going on and on about how powerful he is, how he's never won a fight, he's never even let his back touch the ground because he's so powerful. Going on and on and on and on about him was, you know, it was comical. It's like, oh, okay, is he powerful? I didn't get that. But there's so much to it. Oh man, and his awesome character design. He's such a looming presence, and he's so big and powerful. And then we find out that, you know, with his backstory, that the reason he wears the scarf is because of his mouth, and being teased about it, but refusing. I don't care. This is who I am. I don't care if you want to tease me or not. But then standing up to that then it's not his fault. The terrible people, it's their fault. But anyway, Brulé ended up getting that scar that we've seen on her the whole time because of terrible people, and him taking that on himself and taking fault in that, and then hiding his mouth from there on out, and choosing to project far more power than he truly has to protect his siblings. There's so much about Katakuri that's so similar to Luffy, like how he fights for the ones he loves, and all that he does, he's doing it for the ones that he loves. How he said, I don't care about my appearance, I don't care what you think, I'm gonna live my life. But then he wasn't able to keep that up because he wanted to protect his siblings, and this was the only way he thought he could do it. So now he hides himself, and now he projects a stronger presence. And then you have Luffy, who's so similar to him, but who doesn't care, who wears his weaknesses on his sleeve and owns them and says, I can't do this without my crewmates, but still launches himself into fully protecting them and giving every bit of himself for them. His line, I refuse to underestimate you, that line was the moment that I realized how serious this was and how scary this fight was, because there have been several battles where Luffy has won because he's been underestimated, because his chaotic, childlike nature and his refusal to hide his flaws has made people see him as less than he is, and so they underestimate him, and that gives him the upper hand. But Katakuri saying, I will not underestimate you, is what scared me, because I was like, oh no, you're more powerful than us, and you recognize what he has in him. We might lose, And with how great this battle was, we also have these hilarious moments like when Luffy was buried in the Moki Moki stuff and he was irritated. He was like, do I have to eat my way out of every battle? Which is it's good. Anyway, so Luffy's giving his all. He's gone up to Gear 4. It's been an amazing battle, but Gear 4 runs out. And so then he's on the run and he sees Broly. And I love this panel where he gets the idea and then he just grabs her and runs through the mirror world. But they kind of end up in the wrong place and now they're continuing to be threatened by Big Mom's wedding cake rampage. I'll also note that there was a good chunk of this part of the arc where I was genuinely not interested in what was going on with Sanji. I have found Sanji's perspective so compelling with all his backstory with his family and with seeing pieces of what has made him who he is and what has made him choose his core values and, you know, just the incredible emotions that have come with it. And then suddenly he's baking a cake. And this cake is big and it's important and it matters, but also he's baking a cake and everybody else is doing things that are just more interesting. They're just more interesting. And plus two, there was a part of me that was like, well, I mean, how important is this cake really? Sure, it's the one thing that will stop Big Mom from her reign of terror, but is the reign of terror so bad? If she doesn't get her cake, what's she gonna do? Continue to rampage until she withers away and then eventually just dies? Shucks. And where is she rampaging? In her own territory, which she's running terribly. Who's she gonna kill? Her own kids who are participating in the way she's running this place. Did I talk about this in the last video? I do find it really interesting. I think I talked about it in the last video that Mom is doing this, you know, she's trying to have this land of equality, but she's trying to gain it through fear and manipulation and through forcing people to do as she wants. It's interesting that she's looking for this land of equality, but she's not trying to accomplish it in a way that makes sense. She's trying to accomplish it through tyrannical reign. It's really interesting how, we'll talk more about Mom in a bit. But anyway, she's not running this place well. She's running this place by taking lifespan from people and by threatening people and by manipulating and emotionally damaging and harming. She's doing a bad job. So what's she gonna do? Destroy her own land and then die? Is the cake that important? I mean, sure, she's gonna keep coming after the Straw Hats, but I don't know, she was pretty withered away by the time she got to the cake. But that was previous Murphy's thoughts. I've grown. I realized that just because Mom is doing a bad job with her island does not mean that all these people who are just trying to be protected, who are just trying to survive, deserve death. Just because they've agreed to live here and give up their lifespan so that they don't die some other way doesn't mean that they deserve to die. There are so many average people on this island that have done nothing wrong, that are just trying to survive, and Sanji, in making this cake, is saving them. Not only that, but I have to think, and we'll talk more about it in a little bit. I've said that a lot already in this video, I'm sorry. We will expand on this in a little bit, but I have to think that some of her kids are also just trying to survive by continuing to serve under her. Some of her kids, I believe in her cause and are trying to fight with her because they love it. But I do think that some of her kids are just trying to survive as well, and they're stuck in the situation. They don't want to be here. Do they deserve to die just because they've been put in an impossible situation? So really, while on the surface, Sanji dedicating himself to making a cake doesn't really seem as interesting. Really, it's as noble of a cause as anything else is. Sorry. Plus, I also just really like that Sanji being focused on being a chef it just kind of reinforces who Sanji is at his core. He's someone who cares, he's someone who takes care of people, and he's a chef. More than he is a fighter. And that's been made so clear throughout this entire arc that even as a child, he was never a fighter. He learned to fight to survive, and he fights to protect his own. But he is a provider, he is a nurturer, and he is a cook, and that is who he is. That's who he is when he's his truest self. And I kind of like that even though him baking a cake isn't the most interesting thing to watch, I kind of like that Oda, in an arc about Sanji and an arc for Sanji, that he allowed Sanji to win in his place, in the truest form of who he is. So while I definitely didn't love this every moment, in retrospect, I look back at it and I'm like, that's exactly where he needed to be. That's, if he were kicking his way out of it, it would look cool, but would it fit what we're doing with Sanji's character and how we're showing who he truly is? No, this fits. Plus, we do get some great fight scenes out of Sanji, even as he's trying to protect the cake, like when Oven was beating on Lola'S twin. Truffle is what I called her in the last video. I know it's wrong, but I don't know what's right. When Oven is beating on her and Sanji is waiting for someone to step in, is waiting for it to be handled because he can't reveal his hand, and then he comes to the oh so reasonable conclusion of, I just gotta be so fast no one will notice that I did it. Yeah. Okay. So he does that. And it's a great scene, and it's a funny scene, and it would only work in One Piece. And all throughout every section of this, I keep monologuing. Is it fine when I monologue heavy? Is it fine, or do you prefer when I kind of stick to the points of the... This one's monologue heavy. There's all throughout this entire the section of, no, throughout this entire arc, all throughout this entire arc, we are constantly reminded of the themes of family and true family, as well as themes of abuse and themes of loyalty, and he just does a wonderful job. Anyway, the themes of family and true family, I think, are probably the strongest here, and there's so many little moments, like when Lola'S sister tells her husband, Cigar Mouth, that you are my true family, and protecting him and being there for him, that's what matters most to her. And there's just tons of like tiny little moments just reminding us that around every corner in this arc, you have displays of blood family and how, you know, they could be great. Blood family can be great. They could also be terrible, and we have that on full display with Big Mom and with Judge. Sanji's not dad. We have that on full display. Two parents that use their children as tools, that care about them according to the amount of value that they provide to them, and that are emotionally manipulative and abusive to their children in order to have them do what they want them to do. Two parents that are not good parents. And then you have little reminders all throughout the arc of the children of these parents, of their loyalty wavering. You know, you see it with, not Truffle, with Lola'S sister, you see it with her. You see it with Sanji's sister. Man, you know, there's a lot of characters in this arc. Please forgive me. And my memory is bad enough as it is. Anyway, you see it all throughout the arc. There are so many characters and players that are loyal to the one who is reigning over them, but their loyalty wavers. And it's because ruling with an iron fist and parenting in this way is not a true parent. And Sanji really reestablishes that as he says, you are not my father. And all throughout the arc, Oda shows what found family is, what true family is, and that you do get to choose your family. It's nice. It's nice to show if you come from a bad place, you don't have to stay here. There is a place for you in the world, and you get to choose that. Oh, it's just good. Oh, speaking of good family members, let's talk about Lola and Lola'S Sister's dad, who has not had the opportunity to be the father of his children because, again, Mom, she's terrible. But even though he hasn't gotten to see his kids grow up, and even though he hasn't gotten to be a part of their lives, to the point that Lola's twin doesn't even recognize him, doesn't even know that he's her dad, and yet you see him defending her to the best of his ability, and just seeing her and being so proud and being so happy that she's doing okay, and really, really caring the same for Lola when he hears that Nami knows about her, and just wanting to know that she's good. And it was such a sad scene, and it was devastating to read. But at the same time, it was so nice to have in an arc where found family and where you get to choose your family is such a strong theme, that we also get to see a dad who loves, as well as a mom who loves on Sanji's side. It's just good writing. And there's also tons of comedic amazingness, like with the cannonballs that are flying to attack, but then they stop to ask directions for the Straw Hats, and Nami, a Straw Hat, gives them directions, and then they evade that attack. It's just wonderful. My voice may be better, but I'm still recovering from a cold, so if my nose looks red, it's because I still have a cold. Anyway, so we find out that the minks have another form. If they look directly at the moon, they transform. And Carrot's form, it's so pretty, and she's so powerful, and she's so cool, and I love this. And it makes me want to go back and reread Z-O-U. Makes me want to go back and reread that and see what Oda planted there. What did he say that hinted at the minks having more to them? And what did he show? And what did he leave in that would only be beneficial on reread? I want to go see it all again. I love this. And then you also have Brook, wonderful, wonderful Brook, coming to fight alongside Carrot, and oh, it's just beautiful. I just love it. Oh yeah, let's talk about Mom again. So in the last video, I was kind of hard on her, talking about how, you know, she went from this looming, terrible presence who uses fear and manipulation to get what she wants, and then she kind of turns into like a child throwing a tantrum, and she's in this, you know, frenzy that she can't really control, and I don't know, it kind of just turns into kind of a caricature. And I do still think that to an extent it's more nuanced than that, but she looks really cool when she's on fire. When she starts riding that cloud and her hair's on fire, she's got the sword, and now she's coming after them looking like that. That was really good choice, Oda. I really like this form of Mom. It's terrifying and awesome to look at, and makes her, you know, wedding cake frenzy a little bit more. Oh, I'm scared. Which, don't get me wrong, again, I'm not trying to minimize, because her sweet induced frenzy, her hunger pains frenzy, is still terrifying. Like, she could still swat us and kill us. I don't know, it just doesn't hit the same. But I do quite like her on fire. This is cool. And even more so, I love that this form of her gets to really, I got some great crew moments out of this, like Jinbei facing off against her and just being powerful and awesome and wonderful. I love him. And when Brook and Nami team up to go out against her, no, this is Sanji's arc. But Oda really took time and care to make sure that some of his characters that don't get as much love, which I would put Sanji in that category post-time skip, I've just not enjoyed him very much. But some of these characters that are amazing, like Nami, but simply does not get the page time or the attention or care that I think she deserves, taking moments to really showcase how awesome Jinbei is and how wonderful Nami can be, even if she's not a powerhouse, even if she's not superhuman like so many of the other Straw Hats are. And Brook has won over my heart in this arc, and he just takes his time to let the other Straw Hats shine, and I appreciate it so much. Anyway, in Luffy's perspective, he's starting to be able to see the future, though infrequently, but he's getting stronger. He's gaining these abilities. His tenacity, his persistence, his refusal to quit is his greatest asset in this fight. But also that split scene when both Sanji and Luffy say they believe in me. Oh, also Chopper, I don't give him as much attention as I give other crew members, but I do want to note this moment where Nami, when Chopper goes into his monster form and Nami says, "Chopper, it's no use," and he says, "But I've got to do it anyway. Do your worst, Big Mom. I can at least drag you down into the sea with me." Chills. Absolute chills. The whole island is breaking all of their mirrors so that when Luffy does end this fight and he does come through, they can essentially just corner him and execute him and overpower him. Overpower should have come before execute. But anyway, the fight still goes on, and that one sister who wants to be the best sister, the #1 sister, decides that she's going to win her brother's favor by fighting dirty. And I love this scene so much because there's so much that I love about Katakuri, and there's so many reasons why, and this is one of them. Her, issuing that, and then Luffy falls, and it looks real bad for us. And then whenever he realizes what his sister did, and his response is to stab himself to make it even. Very Zoro-esque, by the way. He stabs himself to make it even because he doesn't like winning this way. He, much like Luffy, doesn't want to win in a way that is manipulative and that's cheating. He wants to do it right. And that's so Luffy. And yet when it happens to Luffy, he tells him it doesn't matter. There's no dirty play in a pirate fight or something like that. But he's mad at his sister. "Do you really think I would want to win this way?" And then he turns to Luffy, apologizes to him for not seeing, for not noticing that this happened. Which, by the way, she got past the guy with like the greatest observation haki, or one of the greatest observation haki, and he didn't notice her. He didn't observe her. So she's pretty powerful. But apologizing to Luffy, I didn't notice. I didn't see it. I'm sorry that I didn't stop the fight when foul play happened. And then wanting to finish the fight right. Oh, I love him. I no longer assume that you are inferior to me. And then Luffy's response, "That's great, thanks. I'm still gonna win." I love his moment of honor and his moment of, trying to, you could just see how much respect Luffy has gained over this fight as Katakuri has understood Luffy more and seen how tenacious and how powerful and persistent and honorable Luffy is. He wants to end things honorably too. And the respect that he's offering Luffy, and then Luffy's response of basically brushing it off, "Cool, thank you. Let's end this. I'm still gonna win," is... Gosh, I don't know. I just don't have the words to express how much I love about this arc. Anyway, Luffy is getting better and better at seeing into the future himself and at dodging attacks and actually landing some blows on Katakuri. That is so cool! This fight is so satisfying. This fight is so satisfying. I love how much we actually get to see the tables turn, really see things shift. And how Katakuri is seeing who his opponent really is. Luffy also uses Snake Man Gear 4. This is cool. Anyway, finally, Luffy does win the fight. And I have so much to say about this, but I'm not equipped to say it. This is the thing. This is the problem. I flew through these chapters. I loved them so much, but I didn't read them with the purpose of dissecting them. I read them, I just read them really fast because I was loving it and I was into it. And I wanted to see what would happen next, but I feel like I need to reread this now because I have some ideas and some theories about how this all went down, but I feel like I need to read it again to fully get it. But to me, I think that there's so much about Luffy that gained Katakuri's respect throughout this fight. Seeing, once again, like I said, seeing that he is so persistent and so strong and that he's so determined to grow and to win. And that determination is what allowed him to be able to change the tides in the fight, to be able to start seeing into the future, to be able to start landing blows, to be able to understand Katakuri's powers better and to really wear him down, as well as seeing so much of, Katakuri wanting to say, I don't care what you think about me, and then not doing that because he wanted to protect his family. Seeing that same thing in Luffy, except Luffy wears his failures on his sleeve. He says, I'm not good enough on my own. And my family, we protect each other. And I think there's so much that Katakuri saw in Luffy, and I really think that Luffy gained his respect on such a huge level that when it came to the end, Katakuri forfeited this fight. It's kind of this nebulous ending where he sort of just falls on his back, and it's like, how did we get here? But I think he surrendered. I think he gave up. I think he said, this is a worthy opponent. And this is my theory. I think he said he might be able to free us from Mom. Because his goal has been to protect his family, to protect Broly. And I think he saw in Luffy the ability to take down Big Mom. And that is why, in the end, when Luffy, out of respect, repaying that honor, put his hat over his face, covered his mouth before he left him. But when we return to him and Broly says, you're gonna say good if I tell you what happened. And he's like, just tell me. And she said, he got away. And he said, good. I think that he wanted Luffy to win and he wanted Luffy to escape because Luffy had won his honor. And I think that Big Mom is a terrible mom who terrorizes her children, and that there are a lot of people under her reign that don't want to be here, and that there is a part of him that thinks maybe he could save us. Maybe that last bit is a bit of a stretch, but I do think he forfeited this fight. I do think that him saying, good, I'm glad they escaped, kind of reestablishes that he gave up because he saw Luffy as a worthy opponent and he wanted him to get free. Again, Mom's subjects, her children, their loyalty wavering. Cut to Sanji and Pudding. So I love this dynamic of Sanji and Pudding, of Sanji constantly simping after every single woman and salivating over every single woman. I mean, I don't like that about him, but there's that dynamic about him. And then you have Pudding, who's doing those things to him, and he's just oblivious. But here's the thing. I actually think that that's totally warranted. That I think he deserves that naivete, because we see Pudding's turmoil. We see her snap at him and then in her mind going, wrong, no, that's not what I meant to do, and then snap at him. He doesn't see that. He sees her snap at him. He sees himself being sweet to her and telling her, I'm glad it was you. And then her responding with, shut up. And that's the end of what he sees. He doesn't see the inner turmoil. He doesn't see how damaged and broken she is and how she's trying to work through her trauma. All he sees is the aggressive side of her. And I think it's totally warranted for him to see that and then think, she's not into me. I wonder if he saw the turmoil, if he saw how much she truly cared about him, if he would, I think he would try to rescue her. I think he would fall for her even harder. I think that they would be whisked away together. So that scene where, oh gosh, there's so much. Oh my goodness, Pudding, I love you. The way that Pudding, putting this on the screen because again, a patron pointed this out to me. The way that Pudding sacrificed herself for Sanji, she's letting him go, she's sacrificing herself for him. It's a true display of love, you know? It's truly devastating. And I think the reason that she kissed him and then erased it from his memory was because if he knew what, that her feelings for him were real and that she really cared about him and that she was just this way because she was hurting so bad and because she was so traumatized, he would do everything in his power to rescue her, to take her away, to bring her in as a part of the crew. But she knew that he was safer if she stayed behind. So she made this sacrifice of letting him go. And I don't know, guys, like this is really good stuff. I can't be convinced that this isn't amazing writing. Anyway, Lion Turtle comes in and saves the day. And Oda loves his Here Comes the Cavalry moments, and I do too. I'm not mad about it. If it's written in well, I love a good Here Comes the Cavalry. Spoilers for later, I loved the Fishman Cavalry. Amazing. Oda loves his Here Comes the Cavalry, and sometimes I don't love it. I don't love it to the extent that he does. And this is one of those. I'm not sure how I feel about Pekums. I'm not sure how I feel about Lion Turtle's role in this arc. It feels a little bit too much like the moves made for his character were for the plot instead of making it feel natural. He brought them into the island and then immediately was kidnapped and then fake executed just so he could be out of the way for a while because we really don't really need him for the plot for a while. And then we revealed, oh, just kidding, it was a fake out death, ha ha ha. And then he rushes in at the last moment to save the day. And I don't know, it feels a little bit too much like, I need this character, but not right now. So let me just remove him in kind of a lazy way. I'm not gonna lie, it was a lazy way. We're too used to fake out deaths by now. There's no way I was gonna believe that. Let's remove him until I need him again, and then he'll rush in and serve the purpose I need him to serve. And just for the purposes of this arc, I don't really like the way he was handled. I like him as a character a lot, and I hope we get more of him moving forward. But I didn't like his purposes in this arc. It felt too much like the author's hand was all over it and not enough like characters were moving naturally. But I do love his disguise, and I also love his other form when he exposed himself to moonlight. I love his character. So because of him transforming, Luffy is able to get out of the mirror and there's a distraction so they don't notice right away, so Sanji can come in and get him, and I love this little line between them. So you won. I did. I knew you could do it. And our boys are together and it's wonderful, and then Germa shows up. That line, so they come back because they want revenge on Mom for using and manipulating them. Good for them, honestly. And that line where they were like, your country, city, town, kingdom, I don't know, was leveled, was destroyed. And the response, oh right, there were a few flies buzzing around, but we smacked them into the ocean. Oh my goodness. One of my favorite moments of the arc, I love everybody's reaction at realizing that Katakuri fell, that their brother lost to Luffy, knowing how powerful he is, how great he is, how he's never lost, and knowing the image that they've all built up around him and probably partially to this point believe, and knowing that Luffy succeeded, seeing all their reactions, and then cut to seeing him just being dragged along. And I'd like to note that I absolutely adore how often in this series Luffy is carried by someone in the midst of a fight. We have Marineford when Luffy just completely shut down and Jinbei carried him out. We have Dressrosa when Law had to carry him around when I believe it was when he used Gear 4 and then got completely drained. And then we have now with Sanji carrying him because he's used up everything that's in him. And I think that it's such a powerful image to have this character who will literally give his life for his crew, who will fight to the point of collapse and death if it were to come to that. He will fight until the very end, the bitter end, for the people he loves. And yet, so often, we see him being carried out by the people he loves because he's given everything for them. Because he's given everything for them, but he is nothing without them. And they will give everything back to him. And I love this found family. I love them so much. Anyway, one of Sanji's brothers actually saves Luffy and Sanji, which is such a cool moment, and I don't think we're done with them. I really don't think that we're done with Sanji's family. I don't think that we're done with very many people in this arc. There's several of Mom's kids, and Mom, obviously, that I really strongly believe we're coming back to. My prediction, it's a baseless prediction. It really doesn't, there's not much to say about it. I don't have much to back me up, but my prediction is that Katakuri and Branch, when we come back for Mom, that they're gonna turn on her and they're gonna fight with us. I think that they're looking for a way out. I could be wrong. Also, one of my favorite scenes in this arc is Judge, Sanji's not father, screaming out what a failure Sanji is and listing all the reasons that he is a failure. And Luffy just responding with, okay, thanks, bye. And then turning to Sanji and saying, why was he yelling all your best qualities? And then Jinbei just laughing and be like, you guys are the best. You know, me too, Jinbei. I agree. That scene right there covers so much of why I love Luffy. Anyway, we had the Fishman, here comes the cavalry moment, where they come in and they save the day when it all looks lost, and I just adore this. We get eaten by a monk for a second, by a giant monk baby, because that makes logical sense. You know what? It's One Piece. That is the way we would be rescued. But then there's so much going on with Oven boiling the water and with Mom having eaten the cake and being returned to her full power and being after them again. And there's so much that's coming at them. And all we have Germa who's fighting. We have the fishmen who are fighting. I think that's all that's on our side. And I don't know, it doesn't look good. And Jinbei turning to Luffy and saying, I can't leave my men behind. I can't leave them this way. I need to fight beside them and make sure that they're going to be okay. I'll bring up the rear. I'll make sure you get away safely, but I have to stay behind. And Luffy responding with, I'm your captain now. And Jinbei taking a second of just, I think it's him realizing, I gotta follow his order. And I have to leave. And then Luffy, the wonderful, wonderful Luffy that he is, the emotionally intelligent person that he is, he sees the situation, he understands it, and he says, we'll be waiting for you in Wano. Don't you die. And it's just Jinbei bowing to him and saying, I'm in your debt. And then going to fight alongside his people. Man, it's what a wonderful scene. And I'm not even mad that I thought he was a part of our crew now, but he's still not. I'm not even mad about it because he's such an honorable man. He's such an honorable character. And him not wanting to leave them to die this way and needing to fight next to them to make sure that they'll make it out okay. It fits his character so perfectly, and I can't be mad about it because it's such an honorable thing. And then we get to end on, why would you give them food? They're our enemies. Well, even bad guys need to eat. And then Sanji and his true father serving food together. Oh, what a wonderful place to end this. What a wonderful place to end this. I have a lot of feelings about this arc. I have so many feelings. I didn't even cover Big Mom, did I? Okay, I have to be done for now, because my daughter and my son are home, but I will come back and we'll wrap this up. We need to talk about Big Mom, and we need to talk about my overall feelings about this arc, which you maybe have gathered are positive, but I'll be back for that. Okay, it's several hours later. I'm back to finish that thought. So let's talk about Mom real quick, and then we'll talk about final thoughts on the arc. So Big Mom, I mentioned in the last video, and I've mentioned again in this video, I kind of stand by my thoughts. I don't know, at the time I'm filming this right before last week's video is going to go live for you, because it takes me about a week to get these videos edited and up. But anyway, I don't know how you guys have reacted yet to what I said about Big Mom, but I stand by it. I still think the same. I think that she was this awful looming presence that kind of got reduced to a child throwing a tantrum. And while she was still powerful and strong, she also lost, for me, a lot of I don't know how to word it. It just didn't hit the same. That said, I now have a little bit more of a nuanced take on it. And I don't necessarily think that it's just reduced down to a child throwing a tantrum. Let me explain. So this is kind of a headcanon. I don't even really have that much in the manga to back me up at this point. Maybe when I reread, I can look for it. But my headcanon for Big Mom is that she is a child experiencing trauma that's really just never been allowed to grow up. So her having this, her being this, you know, large child that has these extreme hunger pangs, and she can't really help that she has these insatiable hunger pangs. I mean, that's not really something that she has any kind of control over, and she also can't help that she is big and can do a lot of damage, even as a child. I can say with absolute certainty that my son, who is a wonderful, tender-hearted, sweet boy, we are constantly trying to drill into him, your sister is smaller than you. You gotta be gentle. And I have heard so many parents say, be gentle with the baby, which my daughter's not a baby, but you know what I mean. And I kind of sympathize with the fact that she's very large for her size, very strong, it seems, for her size, and she can do a ton of damage. And sometimes it just, you know, she's just a kid with some hunger pangs that she can't really control. Because of that, she's abandoned by her family. She's picked up by a child stealer slash seller who she then kills. Mom does. And this is my headcanon. This is my theory. This is what's going on in my head. I think that Mom is well aware that she killed Carmel and her siblings. I think that when she came out of her hunger-induced, her hunger pang stupor that she couldn't control, and she looked around and she saw the blood on the ground, unless she ate them whole. She might have eaten them whole. She saw the ripped clothes and she saw the fact that her family is gone. I think that she might have been able to put two and two together as a child, and then, so I don't, child psychology, not that I've studied it extensively, but a little bit. Child psychology, the child's brain is not developed enough to be able to process extreme trauma. And so a very common reaction when a child has experienced extreme trauma is to completely shut down, block it out, pretend it's not there, just shut down that part of their brain. And it's not uncommon for children to completely block out part of their life or part of their experiences and go into this very blank sort of shock mode. And so my headcanon is that when she came out of her stupor, her sugar-induced hunger pang stupor, when she came out of it, her brain was able to realize what happened, but it wasn't able to process it, and so it shut it down. And now Lilin, Big Mom, is kind of trapped in this childhood trauma where her brain couldn't process that thing, and her brain is trying to protect her. And in doing so, it's not allowing her to process what's happened, and it's also not allowing her to grow up. And so the reason Mom is in this this childlike tantrum state all throughout a huge chunk of this arc, is because of her trauma has kind of locked her in this childhood state of mind. Even when she's not in one of her fits, she still does have a very childlike way of viewing the world, you know, kind of, I want to live out my mom's dream of harmony. I'm gonna do it by making it be what I want it to be. She has this very simplistic way of seeing things throughout the arc that kind of makes me feel like less of a writing direction that I didn't like. I mean, I don't love it, but it feels a little bit more like childhood trauma not allowing her to grow, and a little bit less like just like this weird thing that's happening. I don't know. I might be reading way too deeply into this, but that's kind of the way I resolve wedding cake rampage. It still doesn't hit as hard for me. Big Mom is not one of my favorite villains, but she's also not my least favorite. There have been far worse, and she still is a force to be reckoned with, and I am still really excited to revisit her whenever we get around to that eventually, whenever Luffy comes back to, I hope, save some of these kids that are under her reign of terror. But I do think that there's a decent amount of trauma and manipulation that has made her turn out this way. And I also would like to say that I think a big part of me not fully connecting with this version of Mom, and with me taking so long to realize, oh yeah, the people of her island didn't do anything and don't deserve to die, I think a big part of that is kind of can be explained with Dressrosa. So you have Doflamingo, who is this looming, terrifying presence, this puppet master who's trying to control everything, who isn't getting the fate that he wants, so he's trying to force it. He's very similar to Mom in a lot of ways. The difference, though, between these two arcs is that we got a Rebecca and a Kairos. We got people that we got to know very intimately that represented the people of Dressrosa. We got to know people that represented the common man that's being manipulated and harmed by Doflamingo. And we really didn't get that in Whole Cake Island. There wasn't really a resident that we got to know. The closest we got was in Pudding, and that's one big reason why I think Pudding is so extremely essential to this arc, is because she so clearly displays the abuse that Big Mom puts on the people in her path, even the people on her side, and how much that harms them. But we don't get a lot of that in this. There's no common man that we really get close to in this arc like we did in the last arc. So because of that, that makes me a bit detached from the destruction that Big Mom is causing as she's on her wedding cake rampage. Because as she's doing it, I like the world a lot, but the world is kind of evil. I mean, it is serving her. It's filled with homies that are serving her. So when she's destroying her own, it's like, okay, I mean, fine, you're destroying yourself, okay. But I'm not attached to the individuals because I don't have a stand-in in this arc like I did with Dressrosa. And I think that would have been a really cool thing to have in this arc. And I think that Pudding is the closest that I have, and that's one big reason why I'm a little bit defensive over Mom's kids and thinking, well, maybe there's more of them that are being controlled and manipulated and harmed and don't actually want to serve her. They just don't think they have a choice. But I do think that there are some things that could have helped me a little bit. I think that being able to see the common man or dig even a little bit deeper into Pudding and be able to see the damage that Mom is causing, so that when she's causing, you know, she's in her reign of terror, it kind of hits a little bit harder. I don't dislike Mom at all. I feel like it maybe sounds like I'm coming down hard on her, and I don't really mean it, because overall, I enjoy her as a villain. She probably falls in the middle for me as far as the villains that I've been introduced to, but I do think that there's some nuance there, and I think whenever I reread, I might even be able to pick up on a little bit more of that. Overall thoughts of the arc, I absolutely loved this arc. It's incredible. I love the world. I think that it's so whimsical and fantastic and fun and dark underneath, which again is trademark Oda, but I think it's a really fun world to explore, even when we go on sidetracks that I don't feel are essential to the plot, like with the Seducing Woods. I still enjoyed being there. I don't really feel like this arc was too long. And a lot of times with these really long arcs, like with Punk Hazard and with Dressrosa, Fishman Island was perfect. I tend to think, oh man, we really could have condensed, which Oda, he likes his long arcs. It's fine. But there are long arcs where I just really feel like they could condense, and I don't feel that way with Whole Cake Island. Even the parts that I do think could have been condensed, I'm fine with them being there because I just loved this. I loved the world. I loved the themes. I think Oda knocked it out of the park at executing these themes of family and found family and true family and loyalty and surviving abuse. Like, there's so many things that Oda really dug into and so many parallels that I didn't even touch on that are all over this arc that I think that he pulled off so well. I mean, there are so many scenes that had me crying throughout this arc. Really, I mean, it's not that hard. I am a crier when I read, but it's so hard. The emotions hit so hard. The themes were executed so well. And that's one of my favorite things, when I can sit back on an arc and look at the themes and think, man, you pulled that off. Man, you hit that hard. And I think that's one of Oda's greatest strong points, is his execution of theme, and he killed it here. I love what he did for Sanji's character. I've really not been feeling Sanji lately, and this arc did him so many favors, and I really, really appreciated being able to take the time to dedicate to him, to give him more depth, and to give him some redemption, as well as the love and care that Oda put into several of the side characters that oftentimes don't get a spotlight. They had such great moments, incredible, outstanding moments for Luffy, unbelievably good moments for several side characters that I'm excited to see come back in. This arc was excellent. Excellent. I have some nitpicks. There are some things that didn't work out perfectly for me, but honestly, this arc was wonderful. One of my patrons after I finished the arc asked me, does this break your top 5? And I don't know yet. I really need to take some time and think about it. Eventually, I'll probably do an arc tier ranking list. It's on my list of, you know, videos that I'll do when I'm caught up, or filler, who knows. I'm gonna do that video eventually. I'll have to really sit and think about my top 5, but it's definitely a contender for that because it was brilliant. I loved it. So there you go. That's my review of Whole Cake Island. I'd love to hear from you guys on what you think of the arc and what you think of some of my greater side tangents in this video. I am both excited and terrified to continue on because I am enjoying the way we're discussing One Piece so much. I don't want to be caught up. But I'm getting really close, and that's just terrible. Anyway, I post videos every Tuesday through Friday. I'll see you again soon. Bye.